Hello and welcome into this week's edition of the NASCAR Xfinity Series Rewind Show right here on Racing News Now. As always, I'm your host, Garth Allen. Thank you once again for joining me today. If this is your first time catching a Racing News Now video, consider going down below and hitting that subscribe button and ringing the bell for notifications so you don't miss a thing going forward from RNN. On today's edition of the Xfinity Rewind, we're looking back at last night's 38th annual Go Bowling 250. 250 laps, 187.5 miles, around the three-quarter-mile Richmond Raceway in Richmond, Virginia. Only 5 caution flags in this race for 40 laps. Not a huge number of cautions. If you were expecting a wreck fest at a short track, wasn't really the case last night. Nothing really happened in stage number 1 that concluded at lap 75. With Daniel Hemrick taking the Stage 1 victory. Daniel Hemrick was very fast in Stage 1. One incident in Stage number 2 that actually ended Stage 2 as a caution came out at lap 148 for the 60 of Ty Majeski spinning on the backstretch off of his teammate Ryan Reed. Reed didn't quite hold his lane very well, got into the right rear corner of Majeski. Majeski couldn't quite hold on to it after the contact, went head-on into the inside wall, and that obviously was the end of the night for Ty Majeski. Not a good way to end his night with contact off of his teammate. Again, though, that ended stage number 2 as it was only a couple laps before the end of the stage. Dale Earnhardt Jr. picks up the Stage 2 victory. Yes, you heard me correctly. Dale Earnhardt Jr., his first race back after retiring from the Cup Series last season. His only one on the schedule for the 2018 season, and he ran a fantastic race last night. Stage 3, we had a couple of cautions. First one came at lap 162 for the 15 car of Catherine Legg spinning off of turn number 4, getting into the front stretch grass. That was Catherine Legg's oval debut last night, by the way, so cool to see her running on an oval. And then the next caution was also for Catherine Legg, lap 220, as she got into the wall again in turn number 2. Last caution of the night was at lap 227, as there were 4 wide down the backstretch going into turn number 3, which obviously was not going to work. I don't remember who was on the inside. Austin Cindric was the second car up, Cole Custer, and then Justin Allgaier was on the outside of the 3 wide. Nobody really backed out, and Austin Cindric ends up getting into the left rear corner of Cole Custer, which shoots him up into Justin Allgaier. They both spin. Allgaier, though, backs it into the wall. And that really ended Justin Allgaier's night. Very strong regular season, but not a good start to the playoffs for Justin Allgaier after that incident. 11 lead changes on the night among 5 drivers. Dale Earnhardt Jr., we mentioned he ran a really good race. He led the most laps on the night, 96, spent a lot of time out front in this race. Christopher Bell, the second most laps, led with 67. He and Jr. probably were the 2 best cars in the race. Daniel Hemrick led 35 laps. Justin Allgaier led 37. And 15 laps went to Matt Tifft. Alright, so that is your leaders and your cautions. Let's get into your results on the night. Christopher Bell ends up picking up the victory in this one, his 5th victory of the season. Really, we've talked about he and Justin Allgaier have solidified themselves as the 2 championship favorites, at least in the regular season. Well, Christopher Bell really capitalizing on a bad night for Justin Allgaier here to start off the playoffs. Bell, obviously with the win, has advanced into the round of 8, so he does not have to worry about the Roval next week, and he does not have to worry about Dover. Ross Chastain, though, with another strong finish in the second position. He was catching Bell there at the end of the race. Would have been interesting to see what would happen with a few more laps. We might have had a second win for Ross Chastain. If we just had a few more laps, just a fantastic run for Ross Chastain. He has really made a case for himself to, if not be in a competitive Cup ride next season, to definitely 100% be in a competitive Xfinity ride next season. Because he's put up some fantastic numbers in that car. I mean, probably, for all intents and purposes, probably was going to win Darlington before his dust-up with Harvick. He won at Vegas, led all but 20 laps, and then was running down the leader at the end of Richmond and finished second. So I don't know that you can put up much better numbers than what Ross has put up, and there really wasn't a learning curve because he jumped from mid-pack equipment to some of the best equipment out there, and there was absolutely no learning curve. He just right out of the gate was really fast. So he has definitely made a case for himself to be in some sort of competitive ride next year, whether it be in Xfinity or in Cup. Daniel Hemrick came home with another strong finish in the third position. Dale Earnhardt Jr., again, we talked about his only race for the 2018 season in any series, came home in the fourth position. A great run for Jr. last night. And Matt Tifft rounds out the top 5. Rest of your top 10, Elliott Sadler, Tyler Reddick, Brandon Jones, Shane Lee in the 3 car, and Ryan Reed rounded out the top 10. 11th through 20th, Ryan Truex, playoff contender down here in 11th. Other playoff contenders, Austin Cindric in the 13th position. Cole Custer, after his scuffle with Cindric and Allgaier, still manages a 15th place finish, much better than what we'll see from Justin Allgaier here. Ryan Preece also with a decent run on the night. Not really what we've come to expect from Ryan Preece, but 18th on the night from Ryan Preece. 21st through 30th. Actually, no playoff contenders on this page. And we see Catherine Legg down here. We talked about her oval debut. She came home in the 28th position. Last page, 31st through 40th. Quinn Houff down here. He was running the 4 car this week in place of Ross Chastain, again, who was in the 42 this week. Had some troubles late. Ends up 19 laps off the pace. In the 31st position. We've seen Quinn Houff a few times on the ARCA Rewind show as he has run a few races for the now defunct Mason Mitchell Motorsports in the ARCA Racing Series. Justin Allgaier we see here in the 32nd position. Had a fast car, unfortunately, just on the bad end of a bad deal. 4 wide into turn 3 is never going to work at Richmond. And unfortunately, Justin Allgaier got the raw end of that one. 32nd on the night. Ty Majeski came home in the 34th position. We talked about his incident as well. So that's your results from the Go Bowling 250 at Richmond. So let's head over to the Media Center. We're working on trying to get a winner interview with Christopher Bell here just for RNN, like we have been doing with ARCA winners. Not 100% sure if we're going to get that or not, but we're really trying to work on getting that. And we're gonna try for the rest of the season try to get Xfinity and Truck winners for the Rewind shows as well. We don't have Christopher Bell lined up yet. Not sure if we're going to be able to or not. Just try to get everything lined up with his schedule. But if we do, since we're already doing the Rewind show now, it will go up as its own separate video here in the next couple days whenever we do get it lined up, if we get it lined up. So keep an eye out for that. We might have an exclusive Christopher Bell interview coming up here in the next couple of days if we're able to line up with his schedule. But either way, let's head over to the Media Center, and we will see what Christopher and the other top finishers on the day had to say immediately following this race.
Is that on? Oh, there we go. Yeah, it's crazy. It really is. It doesn't seem real to be sitting here. Initially disappointed in second, but as we walked over here, it kind of was like all coming back to me. Like, man, what I have given and would give 3 months ago to have this opportunity, and then 2 months ago, talks got real serious and it happened real quick, and then we announced right away, and then we're full bore into preparing at CGR. And not knowing me internally, not knowing if I could do what I needed to do. Like it was said by one of the guys that was walking me through everything at the beginning as we went to CGR, was like, if you go run 10th in these 3 races, we're all just going to quit. We're going to go home, and we're never going to, because we don't know what we're doing in NASCAR. And it was true. Like if we didn't perform, we probably didn't need to be doing it. So, man, to have these 3 races, have a shot to win all 3. And we grind like we did today. I mean, we unloaded. I didn't think we were very good. And then I was driving erratic and trying to compensate and driving wrong and really just tied it all together by second practice. And then qualifying was great. we grinded through all 3 rounds and got better. And then I go to slow down, the clutch is stuck. We have to start at the back, and it's just like, well, this pretty much sums up our day so far. And to start at the back and score points in stage 1, pit crew is awesome, and then to come home second is really cool. So looking back, I have no regrets. I could not have done anything different. Tonight that was all that I had to try to catch Christopher. Really, we were about a 3rd or 4th place car and able to roll the outside there, pin those guys down and run. And Daniel made a charge at us, and then I was trying to chase Christopher. So it was really, really cool to be in that moment. Like, restart 3rd, I rolled to the box slow, and then lit my tires up off turn 2. So that was probably the gap he got on me. And then by the time I got back by those other guys, it was too late. So whoever got out front first was probably going to get it. But just all those little things and executing through all 3 of these races, besides one huge crash, was really, really cool.
I'd love to race the late model, one more time somewhere. I'd love to take Elliott wherever he wants to go with one of our cars. I've got a car in the shop now that I need to build, and me and him can just goof off and maybe run a couple races a year for as long as he wants. We certainly would have fun doing that. It's funny. You think back, somebody was asking me out there how much fun I had. I said, when's the last time I had that much fun? And I always think back to the late model days as probably the funnest racing that I did. You went with your buddies, whoever would go, got in the truck. You'd stop halfway down to the beach and get out and get a Mountain Dew and a Slim Jim and drive the rest of the way. And you'd stop down in South Carolina after the beach. You went to the Huddle House. You didn't go to the Waffle House because the Waffle House don't have French toast, but the Huddle House does. And I'm a big Waffle House fan, but the Huddle House is down at the beach were big time after the race, unless you wreck somebody. Then you didn't stop because they'd be there. But I miss, how free and easy that was. And, as you got higher, it, obviously it's bigger business and much more competitive, even outside the car. The drivers, the egos, and everything going on. Your own ego, it gets harder and harder to find the enjoyment the higher you get. You even see the guys that win all the time, walk around most time with a frown on their face. So the late models was always the funnest.
For me, it feels better that I don't have to stress about getting crashed or crashing, so I can be aggressive and go race and try to win. So that's the biggest thing for me. And me and Jason sat down a couple weeks ago and kind of went over our little playoff schedule here. And there's racetracks that we have on there that are circled that we can win at, and for the most part, that's all of them. But there's Richmond is definitely one that we had highlighted that we should be really good at and we can contend for a win. So to be able to win 2 here is really special. And the thing is about winning the first race is you got the target on your back. Everyone's working hard to get better to beat you, and that really showed. We weren't the dominant car by any means, but Jason did an excellent job of tuning on that thing and getting it right at the right time. And that was kind of the story of our day. Even qualifying, we were kind of I'm not going to say mid-pack car, but I think we were 5th to 10th in each round of qualifying until the last round, and then he put the magic setup on it, and we went out there and got the pole, and kind of the same deal. I was right there in the hunt and then would fall back a little bit, and when it mattered, he put the tune-up on it.
All right, so let's take a look at your playoff grid before wrapping up here tonight. Obviously, Christopher Bell, with the win in Richmond, has advanced his way into the round of 8. He does not have to worry about the next 2 weeks at the Roval and at Dover, which I'm sure he is got a big sigh of relief as to not having to worry about the Roval. Nobody wants to worry about the Roval, but these other 11 guys do have to worry about the Roval. And the biggest difference with Xfinity that the Cup drivers don't even have to worry about is Xfinity hasn't gotten a test on the Roval. They have not seen this track at all yet. They will not see it until they get to the track for practice on Thursday. So that's another added element that while all of the Cup drivers are scared of the Roval. The Xfinity drivers probably are a little more scared because at least the Cup drivers have had some test time at the Roval. The Xfinity drivers have not had that. Not at all. So Christopher Bell definitely, I'm sure, breathing a big sigh of relief right now that he doesn't have to worry about that. Some of these guys, though, still pretty good on points. I'd say Daniel Hemrick. Justin Allgaier, even after his issues, he's still got a 21-point gap back to the cutoff line. So while he doesn't have as big of a gap as he had going into the race, he's still got a fairly sizable lead on that cutoff line. As long as he doesn't have another bad race at the Roval, he's probably pretty solid going forward. And he won at Dover earlier this season. So if he can make it out of the Roval without too much damage, I think he's okay. Because even if he doesn't win at Dover, he's going to run solid at Dover. We know that for sure. He's good at Dover. So I don't think he's got to worry unless he has another bad race at the Roval. Then you might have to start worrying about Justin Allgaier. Ross Chastain, though, that's the thing right here that I'm really loving here. 4th place in points for Ross Chastain. Definitely would not be the case had he not jumped in that 42 car. He'd be running well. He definitely puts that JD Motorsports car, that 4 car, better than it probably should be most weeks, but I don't think he'd be 4th in points after Richmond had he not been in that 42 car. And he came oh so close to advancing to the next round. So good start for Ross. It'll be interesting to see if this is enough to keep him in for the round of 8 going forward, because he will be back in that JD Motorsports car as far as I'm aware for the rest of the season. There's been no announcement as to whether he'll be back in the 42 at all this season. I'm guessing not, because I'm guessing they've already got every race going forward contracted already. I'm assuming with John Hunter Nemechek. The Roval might be with somebody different, but I'm assuming John Hunter Nemechek is filling out the rest of the races, since they can't put a Cup driver or anybody in it because it's the playoffs. So we'll have to see. We might see Ross back in there, but I'm not going to hold my breath as to seeing him back in the 42 car, at least for this season. Looking down here closer to the cutoff line, though, Brandon Jones, Cole Custer tied at the cutoff line, each with 2,035 points right now. Cole Custer seems to have taken the biggest hit from the incident late in the race that he had with Cindric and Allgaier, which is amazing because he didn't have a terrible finish from that. 15th, I wouldn't consider absolutely terrible, although he is now sitting at the cutoff line and technically below it. So, that Cole Custer's going to need a good race at the Roval. I don't know that that's a race I would want to rely on to have a good race, but unfortunately I think he's going to need one. And the rest of these guys down here are going to need a good race at the Roval. Ryan Truex, Austin Cindric, Ryan Reed, they're all going to need good races at the Roval, because if you have another bad race at the Roval, you're going to have a pretty big hole to dig out of at Dover. So it'll be interesting to watch going forward. I'm interested to see who ends up being the bottom 4 after the end of this round. I think it's mostly how it's going to look right here. In terms of performance so far this season, I think I'm going to say Ryan Truex, Austin Cindric, Ryan Reed stay in this bottom 4 and get eliminated after this round. As to who the 4th will be, I'm not sure on that yet. There's a few candidates up here. I don't think Cole Custer stays down there. It would really surprise me if he stays in the bottom 4 and gets eliminated after this round. So if he gets out, there's a few guys here that I think are possibilities to fall into that. Brandon Jones, Tyler Reddick, Matt Tifft, I think are all candidates. And depending on how Ross Chastain runs when he gets back in the 4 car, it's possible he falls down that far as well. We'll have to see here after a couple of races. I'm interested to see how this all shakes out, and I'm sure you are too. So that'll do it for the playoff grid following the Go Bowling 250 round number 1 of the 2018 Xfinity Series playoffs, and I think that'll do it for us tonight here on the Xfinity Rewind Show. Like I said, we're trying to get an exclusive winner interview with Christopher Bell. I don't know if that's going to quite work out due to his schedule, but we're really trying to get that figured out here to get that on here in the next couple of days. Since we've already got the Rewind show out, obviously it's not going to be on here, but it will go up as its own separate video here in the next couple of days if it actually happens. So keep an eye out for that. Cup Rewind will go up probably tomorrow morning, Sunday morning. Recap tonight's race at Richmond, which will be going on here in just a little bit. 7:30 Eastern roughly will be the start time for that race. So check that out, and then check out the Rewind show tomorrow as well. So if you haven't done it already, you need to go down below, hit that subscribe button, ring the bell for notifications so you don't miss a thing going forward from RNN. And we've got lots of that coming up. Obviously, we've got our usual at the track coverage of ARCA races coming up. Next race will be October 6th at Lucas Oil Raceway in Indianapolis. So you want to keep an eye out for all the fun and shenanigans that we have going on at these ARCA races. Are always fun. Catching up with everybody and getting to talk to everybody before and after those races. So you want to definitely make sure you're subscribed and your notifications are on so you don't miss any of that going forward. And hit that big thumbs up button on this video if you liked it. It is much appreciated when you do. So with that, this has been the NASCAR Xfinity Series Rewind Show. I'm Garth Allen for Racing News Now.